Welcome to In the Library with Marsha and no Adrian again. I'm beginning to think he's part-time. He is off today. So I have two extra special guests with me here today on this podcast. So first up, we have.
Hi, I'm Sheree Beaudry. I'm the Youth Outreach Technician at Monroe County Library System.
Hi, I'm Ava, and I am a lifelong Monroe County Library System patron, and hopefully I'll be a sub here in the coming future.
Yes, and volunteer. You've been to many programs already, as it is. So today I thought we could talk a little bit about, we've been mostly hammering summer reading because that's what's going on right now at all of our branches. And I know here at Ellis, we are partnering with the YMCA to do the summer lunches at here, Frenchtown, I think, is it both Dorsch and Navarre or just Navarre? So there's multiple branches that are doing partnerships with the YMCA. And so they'll have morning programming and then they'll have summer lunches provided by the YMCA, and then generally an afternoon program too. I know here we've been doing morning programs and then afternoon movies or afternoon Lego builds. So there's really something every day. I don't think she has anything scheduled for Fridays, but Monday through Thursday here at Ellis. And I know Bedford's are doing theirs on Tuesday nights at 6. And when do Dorsch and Navarre meet for their summer reading programs?
So at the Dorsch branch, the regular summer reading program is 1 o'clock on Thursday afternoons. This is a week with July 4th in it. So they're not planning a program for this week, but by the time you hear it, we'll be back on track Thursdays at 1 p.m. at Dorsch. They also are doing what they're calling Water Wednesdays, which is 10 o'clock on Wednesday mornings. It's outside, even though this week, because of smoke issues, we had to find some inside space, but outside. And the idea is everybody gets wet. There's a sink and float bucket. There's a kiddie pool. We're thinking about trying to make a tinfoil river that we can sail our boats down. So anything and everything that we can think about to get wet, to let kids play around in the water. There are always books available connected to the activities and kind of core to the activities. And you can pick up a summer reading sheet at any branch. So whether you come to the programs or not, you can always come in and get that reading log where you track what you're reading for the summer, and then you can win prizes. And at the Navarre branch, every day at 4, Monday through Thursday, they have some kind of activity. So Monday is usually Mindful Mondays. Tuesday is usually an active day. Wednesday, Why on the Fly, with our partnership where they come and do outside activities with the kids. And then Thursday usually centers around some art and picks up the theme of All Together Now from summer reading. So those programs are always at 4. And they ask you to register for them, but you can also come whenever it's convenient for you. And at Navarre, where they are serving meals in cooperation with the Meet Up, Eat Up initiative, activities are from 4 to 5, and then meals are ice served at 5.
Okay, so those are later. So we're doing lunches here at Ellis, but then that's nice. But I always say too, go to our website, go to the, branch hop, go to multiple libraries. If you have kids home this summer, take them everywhere.
Well, and last week, that was one of the best conversations I had with a parent who was saying they do check the calendar and go everywhere. So if they're going to summer reading programs, but if there are like a water program or an art program, or I think it was Vivian was doing a painting program. And so anything they see on there, because it's the best kept secret in Monroe County, everything is free. It's either inside where it's air conditioned, or it's outside and you get to play in the water and cool off that way. And kids have a chance to get active with other kids, but also keep up their reading and have some incentive to do that, so that when they come back from school, they've got a lot of reading under their belt and they kind of keep up with their, educational goals. So it costs nothing. You can bring anybody, you can drop in anytime. They're all different, even though they're at the same theme. And why wouldn't you just travel around and see what's out there?
Library hop for sure.
And even if you're not coming for a specific program, every library you go to, and I always tell the kids at school this, has computers for kids, has things for babies, things for kids, things for teenagers. So it's the one place you can take the whole family, and there's something for everybody. There's puzzles, there's giant checker games. Some libraries have a kitchen to play in, some have a puppet show. Lots of times they're what we call passive activities, which is stuff that's just out for kids to either create some art, or do a poll, or maybe fill out a questionnaire, things that just kind of allow kids to have some input and have some fun when they come in the door.
Definitely. And with the partnership with the lunches, that's another great thing. You can feed your kids. They're available to anyone 18 and under. So we do ask sometimes if you're bringing a lot or maybe to register that we provide enough meals for that, but we always have extras everywhere. So come for one, come for all, and definitely library hop for sure. Ava, so I'm sorry, back to you. Were you say more?
No, I was just going to say, the programming runs mostly through the end of July, but summer reading continues on into August. So even again, if you're not coming to a specific program, you can still be doing your reading log. You can still come in and use all the facilities and the activities at the library. So it's a great,
I think a lot of people
it's a great summer escape.
I think a lot of people do that. If Wednesdays, say Wacky Water Wednesdays is their day, and then even when it's over, they'll continue to come on Wednesdays just to return books and get more books and things like that. So maybe just use that as your regular library day.
People are doing things with 1,000 hours outside, and I'm sure you've already talked about when you come into the library, it's not just everything that's happening here, it's what it connects you to. The MAP program, where you get a Michigan activity pass that lets you into parks and museums. And there are so many resources within the library that lead you to other things to do, other fun things that are happening, other events that are occurring in the community. So you have the library building itself, you have the programming that we provide, you have the partners that come in and extend things even more, and then you get linked to things all over the county and all over the state. So if I sound like I'm overselling, I am overselling.
Right.
And it's, I think it's the greatest place
no such thing as
ever.
overselling.
And not just because I work here, but because everything I'm saying is true. So once you're in the door, the possibilities are almost endless.
And we've been talking a lot about for children, but we also have a teen summer reading, an adult summer reading. So really there's something for everyone every single day at every single library. So check it out. You can go to mymcls.com and you can get on the website calendar and you can check and see what's close to you or what interests you.
And one thing that a parent told me last week, or that we discovered together, she had been using the calendar app on her phone. I think I'm saying, the calendar app, and could only see things in a list. But we talked about from her phone pulling up the website, mymcls.com, because from there you can click and see the whole calendar. So you can, in a day or by week or by month, see everything that's happening and, plan out your trip around the county.
Every day. I say get on there every day and see what that library has to offer. All right, Ava, let's talk to you for a little bit right now.
Yeah, what's up?
So you have always done volunteering as long as, really since birth almost. I've known you for a really long time, but you've always helped us out with all kinds of programs, and the fair booth, which is coming up. We've been talking about the fair a lot lately, and so hopefully we'll see you again for the fair booth. We've always done our fair food feast, for example, where we go get our deep fried food, and we have fun working in the library booth or the, credit union booth or whatever. We just make fair has kind of been, I think of that as like part of our anniversary, right?
Yes, it very much is. Very much is.
Fair is your big summer vacation trip up here. And again, with your love of library, you've always been at the library fair booth. So what is something you love? What's been your favorite library fair booth or favorite thing to do at the library fair booth?
Wow. Okay. So at the library fair booth specifically, I remember my favorite thing to do was to run into the merchants building as soon as I got to the fair, or if I was there for a while and I was really bored and I needed something to do and, get out of the heat. So I remember I would go in and I would go to the library booth and I would always see what books were up as prizes for the drawings, mostly because I was just excited about seeing the book covers, because at that age I was more concerned about what the book covers looked like than what the actual content was.
I love that. Never judge a book by its cover, but we all do.
Oh yeah, we always do. We all do. It's okay. So I always thought it was fun because I was just interested in seeing which book is the prettiest, or which book looks the scariest, or, and I would put my name in for honestly, it was always the books I'd already read.
You just wanted to own them.
But I just wanted to own them. Yes, exactly. So that's my favorite memory of the fair at the library booth specifically.
I love it.
But I think in general, I really liked coming into the Ellis branch specifically and seeing just how much it changes, and it had changed, because I had been coming to the Ellis library since I was a baby, pretty much
before the expansion, before the changes.
Right? I think it got remodeled twice because they changed some things around when they
moved the offices
upstairs, and so the downstairs was open in a different way. But then Ava was also around when they shifted into the latest renovation, which really changed the look of the place.
And it just looks so modern and pretty.
It does look so pretty.
I just remember my favorite part of the library was the teen section, where on the wall there's this metal plate, and there was I think it's called like magnetic word poetry or something
Yes,
like that. And there
yes.
were just lots of little words all over this plate of metal. And I would go up and I would just spell stuff out. I would try to write complete sentences. I would collect all my favorite words and put them in a little bunch or somewhere. And I always thought that was fascinating. And I would do that for hours.
I love that passive interactive programming.
Yes,
That's so great.
yes. That's one of my favorite libraries.
Well, and even though Ava doesn't live in Monroe, the library was always a stop when she came to visit family. But even during the school year, she came to some programs. She was a big Percy Jackson Lightning Thief fan, and we did a whole Camp Half-Blood where you could come and train in all the areas. She was, of course, obsessed with Harry Potter. So, you know, we had a Hogwarts classroom day where we made potions and things. And those are programs that are offered more often during the school year, I think, because they're really promoting what we can do inside and connecting it to literature. Summer is a little more about what can we do outside? How big a mess can we make? How loud can we get? How much water can we spray around? So it's a little messier.
They've been doing a lot of, like you said, the 1,000 hours outside, or literacy on the lawn, they call it here. And they've been doing a lot of sidewalk chalk across the front, which is so pretty and fun. And again, all together now we have a kindness club that meets. So they write kindness messages, and they were tracing their bodies. It looked like a lot of chalk outlines in front of Ellis Library last week.
Well, and every summer there is a theme that is offered by the American Library Association. Not every library does it, but many do. And so it's really cool when you can sort of see what other libraries are doing and, let's say, borrow creatively.
Yes.
But the whole idea of this year's theme altogether now, people are incorporating teamwork and kindness and cooperativeness. Some branches are doing like a community project as part of every one of their get-togethers. They spend a little time picking up trash or making cards for seniors, something to contribute, and then working on things together, cooperative art projects. We're going to do some cooperative games at Navarre this afternoon. So that's been a great theme in terms of, a lot of people are painting kindness rocks, and leaving them around the library. So just a lot of positive energy around the summer.
I think so too. They've been very excited to participate. It is nice. I liked hearing your perspective from the fair booth, because again, when you work here and you see it all the time, it's nice to see the fresh perspective. And it reminds me that we give away books every day at the fair, different books every single day, and for all ages. So there'll be like a children's, a teens, adult. You can register to win all of them, and every single day. So I always tell people, come back every day. And I've actually signed up for fair booth shifts every day. So come see me at the fair every day.
Well, and there's also always an amazing game. Now, I don't want to give anything away about this year's, but I'm saying backed by popular demand.
This is a fun one too.
So you can come, it is in the air-conditioned building now. Yes. I think Ava can remember.
Yep, when we were not in the air-conditioned building.
Before the expo building.
Do you remember going there when it was hot?
I don't remember that far back.
But
I do remember that Marsha specifically likes to have out the giant Waffy Taffy.
Oh yes, I'm in charge of.
And yes, you should go. If you're not interested in books, you should at least go for the terrible jokes on the back of the Waffy Taffy.
We do spend a lot of time with the jokes.
Yes. Well, and if you've listened to this podcast at all with Marsha, especially, you're going to know that candy comes up frequently, and where she goes, candy follows.
Candy and food is
the fair is no exception. We got books, we got candy, we got games, and that's the thing I keep coming back to whenever I talk to people about the library. It's not just one thing. If you're a reader, we have lots for you to read. But if you're a gamer, if you like anime, if you're a graphic novelist, if you want to learn local history, if you are just here for the candy, it's always around somewhere. Kids will ask me, which branch do I work out of? And I have to say, well, I really just have an office in our administration building. But if a program's having something to eat, I like to be sure and show up for that.
If you feed them, they will come.
Yeah, there's art, there's science stuff, there's STEM stuff. So a chess club in different branches. So whatever you're into, there's something happening connected to it somewhere in the library, or there's a staff person who's like, that's a great idea.
Right. Well, I talked about that silent book club. I talked about that last time on the podcast. And then
sounds amazing.
Up here at Ellis, upstairs at Ellis in the reference department, that's where we're recording this right now. And that's where there's the Ellis Papercraft Club project that meets. That's a really fun program. That's on Thursday nights once a month. They come and they just spread out and work on paper projects, whether you do bullet journaling or scrapbooking, and we have supplies that you can have, or people share their own, or they just come and spread out at these tables and work.
Or I know that some branches have started just having an art cart that's available. So you come in and whatever materials you want, the maker's cart. And I will say, like the silent book club or the paper
Yep, paper craft club.
craft
Yes.
class or club.
Mhm.
I think those are such genius ideas because all of us have good intentions
Right.
of creating, of reading, of making, of finishing a project, and you just never get around to it. But when you have that little space to come and be with other people who are working on something too, that's such
Yes.
a great motivator.
Yep, it motivates you, and you block out the time where you wouldn't at home.
We can't do.
Yeah, if I'm at home, I'm just going to lay on the couch and eat chips. But if I come to a library program, I'm going to spread out and like get to work, right? Because the people are
And then you
rushing.
start talking to people who are
Accountability.
interested in the same thing you are, or they show you how to do it. Or that's when you have the idea to start a book club that's all about, you know,
Yes.
baking or crafting or whatever.
Yep.
So
something for
great
everyone.
community resource for every age.
We have computer
citizen.
classes. I haven't even talked about computer classes. Yesterday was the first one here at Ellis. She's doing a basics computer class that just started back up. So really just go to the calendar and check it out.
And the other thing I want to say is that overall, I feel like the library is sort of the last democratic space, and that's democratic small d, just because everyone is welcome. You don't have to get a
No,
card.
right.
You can come in and use the computers and they just give you a pass for the day. You can come in and browse magazines if you want to. During this podcast, I'm sitting here with a yearbook open
There
in
you
front of
go.
me, flipping, you know, walking
We have
down
all the
memory
yearbooks
lane.
from Monroe County. Come
And-
upstairs at Ellis.
And anybody
Right,
is welcome
right.
to participate, to use the space, to use the materials, and that's a wonderful thing. Everybody is welcome.
Yes, I cannot echo that enough. And one other thing I was going to say, I always like to ask, since this is a library podcast, Ava, what are you reading now, or what's something you've read recently that you'd like to share about?
So that's a
Besides
really good
college
question
textbooks.
well, yes, besides college textbooks. So I recently read 2 books that I found on the shelf at the library just looking.
Yay.
So I read The Perks of Being a Wallflower, which I know has been out for a long time now, but it's still very relevant and just very meaningful and like emotionally shattering kind of.
No,
I
just agree.
The way that it's written and the blunt language and the letters, just everything about it is wonderful. I would highly recommend. And I would say if you've read it as a teenager, read it again when you're a young adult, because even though there's the small age gap, there's definitely still things that you've probably missed that you should go back.
And your
and
circumstances
think about.
change, or your
Yes.
opinions change, as you grow.
Yes, absolutely. And then for my softer side, I also picked up Isla and the Happily Ever After, which
These are 2 of my favorites too.
if you haven't read anything by Stephanie Perkins, you absolutely should. She's a wonderful writer, but she also writes like the sweetest stories.
Yes. But also scary. She also writes horror too. So I love she does everything. But I
the
love
romance
her.
is real. Marsha
Yes.
and I take that that trio of books every time we talk to a high school crowd.
Which one did you say? Isla?
Isla, yes.
Yep.
And then
Anna and the French Kiss. Yeah.
Yep.
I always do. It's funny when you said that. I forget. Sheree and I talk about this all the time. We have been book talking these books for years. So we're bored. I'm not bored with them. These are still great books, but I feel like I'm like, yeah, you've all heard of this book, but they haven't. And it's always a good reminder to me that every generation has not heard of these before.
Because
so
it keeps turning around. If you're in high school 4 years later, it's a whole new crowd. So we can take some of those really classic, amazing, the 2 books that Ava talks about. You just keep reintroducing them because they are still relevant and they're so amazing. You want everybody to know them.
Yep. And I think the same thing. So even though I've book talked that book hundreds and hundreds of times, and I'm tired of hearing myself talk about it, it's great to have that fresh perspective. And like you said, to even just reread it or to talk about it to somebody who has not read those books before. So
yes, absolutely. 100% reread the books that you've already read, because there's probably something that you missed.
Yeah.
Even in the books like Harry Potter or Percy Jackson, there's always little details
that
you can pick up once as you grow up. And
I think so too.
it's a fresh perspective, even if you don't have someone else around to ask their own opinion.
I agree. Your own fresh perspective. I love it. How about you, Sheree? Do you want to share anything you've read?
Well, I'm reading nonstop all the time because that's my thing. That's also my job. And I read a lot of books for kids. I cannot say enough things about Simon Sort of Says. It sounds like such a sad premise because he is a kid who has survived a school shooting, but the humor and the warmth in this book and the way this kid cracks you up at the same time he's breaking your heart. Wonderful. Recommend it for anybody 4th grade and above.
Okay.
But I should also say that I was here at the Ellis Library yesterday and made the mistake of walking past the new book section and ended up taking 3 more books home to put on the stack of whatever. One is about some milestone songs of the Rolling Stones, exploring the lyrics and the impact of the song. Absolutely. One is about a guy who was in prison for gang activity and drug activity, but turned his life around through cooking and baking. So I got to know about that. Clearly I was in the biography.
Right. Was it at the bottom of the stairs when you were leaving upstairs?
Was,
yes. I know the books you're talking about.
I was standing down there looking, and it was like, I'm going to add this one. And then I bought, I picked up a summer beach read fiction. So
yeah, a little of everything.
It's not even so much what I'm reading as what I continue to put on the stack to read.
Well, and I was showing Ava on our tour up here of some of the fun books that are up here. Like The Ruins of Detroit is a beautiful architectural book. Yes. So we've been browsing. I've been making it a habit to come and find new books that I've never even known are here. Well, so yeah.
And that's one of the most amazing things here. Yeah, you work here and you think you've seen it, but then you're like, oh, what's that? Oh, somebody made a, special display out of anime. I need to read some of that. Or, oh, look, there's so many new biographies in the new book section. When we walked in this morning at Ellis, there's a big display of kids' book that's all about friendship. And so putting that idea of all together now and friends and kindness, but they're not just dry books about be nice to others. They create hilarious characters and awkwardness and things that you can see your own life mirrored in. So there's a never-ending supply of new stuff.
Oh yeah.
Just when you think you've had enough of, trying to get a hold of the old stuff.
I always say it's a blessing and a curse when you work here, or like a company perk, because we're unpacking these boxes of new books and then you want to read every single one. So just being surrounded by them is hard, because I feel like I alone take home 5 a day.
I always tell the kids at school, my office, as I mentioned, is in our administration building, and that's where all the new materials come. And it's literally like Christmas every day. They back up and they bring in box after box after box. And it's like, what is it? What's in there? What's going on now? And then they put them all on these shelves while they wait to process them. And if I walk by those shelves and don't seriously turn away, it's like, oh, I'm just going to look at this and this and this. And now I even have my own book page that I put in those to make sure I can request them.
Well, you also have little sleepers. Don't you have little sleepers there that pull them aside for you and tell you, Sheree, you have to read this? Some of our collection services staff are already earmarking them for you too.
Collection staff are amazing. There are times where I walk in the door and they'll be like, did you see this one? Did you look at this one? Sheree, I held this out for you. This would be so funny. They're already showing me great books for Halloween.
Oh yeah. Oh, see? Yeah,
and we get books ahead of publication date that we can't release until specific dates, but they've been shipped early. So having that preview when they draw my attention to things,
then you're ready to go.
Yeah. They're an incredible resource because they put their hands on everything.
Yes, multiple times. So I have a couple things. First of all, Adrian has pointed out that every time he's absent from a podcast, it gets the most views or listens to. So I'm going to make that a goal. But ladies, share this with all your friends. We want to be the most listened to podcast without Adrian. Also, though, I miss
Adrian,
him.
I promise I always listen when you're on.
And he's so fun and he's so funny. And I feel like I'm pretty dry. But one of the things he always asks really random questions about, what animal would you check out from the library, this and that. And I was going to, keeping with our fair theme, I was going to ask, what is your favorite fair food guilty pleasure?
Okay, so I really like, randomly off the top of my head, is the fried mozzarella sticks from the Wisconsin cheese. Like that's the name of the stand, and it has like the big block of Swiss or whatever on top. But I also like, this is really strange. I've never seen this at any other fair except the one here. Right. And it's been here in the past few years, but it is a pasta stand that is on wheels that they carry around, and they serve like just different, like carbonara and tortellini, and they do bread bowls, and it's like the oddest thing because I never realized.
You just think deep fried, but but people are living out there, so they're going to need something else.
Yeah. So that's my second place.
Right I love it. I love it. How about you, Sheree? Well, you've been with us when we divide and conquer too, where we make a really long list and everybody spreads out, so we can get one of everything.
Like one of everything, and then you just keep passing around.
But if you're only getting one thing, Sheree, what is it?
We honestly did not plan this ahead of time, but I was going to say, people, it's fried cheese. You see, it's cheese that they dip in batter and then fry up for you. And close second is, of course, the French fry. also a fried item.
Anything fried,
then
deep fried Oreos.
You have the lemonade shake.
Oh, yes.
So those three are pretty much constitute the perfect eating.
I
day.
agree. It's like a rounded out square meal. So yeah. So like I said, Adrian's in charge of coming up with the shocking questions. I just wanted to stick with the theme, but is there anything else that you'd like to share to our listeners about the library or about yourself or anything else?
Yeah, no, I would just like to put a little blurb out there, I guess if that's the right word, for the library. And I just want to say that like the library does not necessarily equate to just books. And I mean, that's kind of the central theme that we've been talking about here, is that, yes, you can go to the library to check out books, but you can also go there to meet new friends, engage with new people. And there is something for everyone of every age. And it doesn't have to be like, go to reference and ask about the history of Michigan in like 1861. It can be, there is something for everyone. And there's a lot of community out there who you can meet through interests in books, but also interest in activities that your kids do, or I don't know, other
even the Orchard East
or...
project. We've been talking about that a lot on here because we interviewed them a couple of weeks ago, but the Orchard East project is still going on. So that's another sense of community. It ties in with our summer reading theme of all together now, bringing up memories, sharing stories, really just in the community, drawing them together. Everybody who shows up has been saying like, oh, I remember this used to be there, or I'm going to tell my aunt or my grandma. So even just spreading the word about a specific place or a memory or a book that you've read, there's just so many ways to make connections. How about you, Sheree? Any final thoughts or wrap up that you'd like to say?
I think I covered the things that are most important to me, but Ava makes a really good point about community. We were apart for a long time. We were quarantined from each other, and coming back together as a community is so valuable, whether it's seeing your friends here or your book club or your hobbies or even the staff here. I was going to say, if you're come out to the fair, but come by and say hi to us, because I don't see kids during the summer very much.
We miss them.
I miss them and want to say hello. But you also get to see kids who've grown up who say, I went to your story time, or I know you from school, and they're bringing their own kids now. And you get a chance to tell them, hey, bring them into story time. So that continuity of community is just a beautiful thing.
And the it is air conditioned at the fair booth. I always tell people that. So if you just need to cool off, you said that too, Ava, which I love.
It's right across the street from Ellis. Right. So you can park here and, donate your parking fee to the Friends of the Library, but you can also go back and forth between grabbing a book and having a seat in the air conditioner if it's all getting to be a little too much. And then you can go back into the fray, but come and see us there and say hi.
I've been saying that too. They've told me they've had a little bit of a Marsha parade up here too. So come and see me. So if you come to the fair, come on over to the Ellis Library, come upstairs, ask for Marsha. I love giving tours, right, Ava? We just went on a little tour. Yes. So I love to give tours and invite everyone in, and please come to any and all branches, the one nearest you or the one if you want to drive across the county. So thank you to my special guests today for joining us. Thank you, Sheree and Ava.
Thanks for having
us.
This
has been really fun, Marsha, and it's been it feels really great to have another opportunity to say how great the place is. So thanks a lot for having us.
Yes, thank you. And tell everyone to listen so we can have the most listens to ever.
How do they find this podcast?
Oh, yeah. So really, there's lots of different ways. I have recently learned they're all together, so you can listen to all 28 old episodes. But generally, these will come out. This one will probably come out, like you said, after. This will come out next week. So they're usually on the library Facebook page, the Monroe County Library Facebook page. You can find it there for sure. They're on my YouTube channel. You can
but you can go back and hear all of them.
All of them. You can catch them all
from
up.
YouTube?
Yeah. So when you go on YouTube, once it listens to one, usually it'll recommend them along the side, but there's there's a list of them now. So they're all like 28 episodes are dropped in a little list. So you can go through, and each episode, like this one, will list both of your names, and you can go back through and say, oh yeah, I really want to hear about the Orchard East project, or, oh, Amber said nobody listens to this podcast. I want to listen to Amber. So you can kind of pick and choose and go listen to all of them.
Well, and I should also say that when you're looking around YouTube, the library has tons of videos out there about other things, how to get a card, how to, access materials.
Map. You talked about Map.
Every month we put some book recommendations out there, especially for kids. So teenagers, middle schoolers, elementary and young kids, those are out there almost every month. So you can tune in to us at home and then request your books at 3 a.m. if you need to. We'll get them ready
what I
for
would
you
do
to pick
too.
up. Thanks a lot, Marsha.
Yeah, thank you guys.